know where you are, the 9 at 9 with me, Tigo. And today, we love bringing in experts and VIPs, and today is no different. You guys have been watching me do the shows. You ask me how I do this, and you say, where do I get cameras? How do I write something? I want to be an author. Do you remember Danielle being on a couple of months ago? And I promised you she'd be back. Today is that day, and we're going to talk about writing. So sit right there. We'll be right back.
Emmett, do you want to play with me? Yeah, I can't play right now. I'm doing show notes.
All right, you know what I'm saying. I'm not a writer. Don't ask me to write a thing. I know how to stand behind a camera. I know how to somewhat direct. I play at it a little bit. And I have a good time being on this side of the camera. But if you want to know about writing, I went and got an expert that does this for a living, y'all. And she teaches it as well. Danielle is here. What's happening, Danielle?
Good evening, morning and afternoon.
Yeah, because you don't know what time they're watching it around the world.
Well, it doesn't matter what time we are in today right now.
Oh, okay, we're going to talk about that. All right, let's talk about writing, because people may not know that she's an award-winning author. You're a director, a producer, and you know what? You wear a fly hat. I mean, come on now. How did you get into writing? What came first? Writing, producing? Where did you go first?
Actually, writing came first. My first poem was published, I was 15.
Oh.
So that was 11 years before my first novel came out.
So you started when you were 4?
Actually, no, my first award for writing, I was in 4th grade. That makes me like 9. However, I never knew it was going to be a career. It was something that was good to do.
Okay.
It was fun. I lived in Buffalo. I grew up in Buffalo. From November to about May, you can't go outside, right?
I was going to say there's about 40 feet of snow.
Right, and especially, winters have gotten better, but then, a snowstorm, you was in the house for a week.
Like Chicago.
And my brother is 10 years older than me, so literally I grew up as an only child. Mm-hmm. So in those winters when your friends can't come over because your parents can't drive and, all of that, that was my outlet. Playing Super Mario on Nintendo and then Crash Bandicoot once it changed to PlayStation, and writing. And genuinely, it wasn't anything other than to pass the time.
So for people that are out there watching, because now people are really understanding the value of being an author, right? They're understanding the value of being on video,
right?
And maybe they've written a book and now they want to make it a screenplay, or they don't even know they need to. They just want to make it a movie,
right?
And they think they go throw the book at the director and say, make this a movie. How do you get started? What's the first things you do if you want to start being a writer?
Number one, you have to make sure that's what you really want to do. Because being a writer isn't easy, mm-hmm. right? For people who aren't writers, being a writer isn't fun. It's not cute. It's nothing. They prefer not to. So you have to, if you say, I want to be a writer, try that. Try writing first. Just make sure that when you're sitting there and you don't get bored on page 1. Because a screenplay is 120 pages. You can't get bored in 1 and you got 119 to go. Excuse me. Like, you just can't. Or you just need to know yourself well enough to say, hey, let me go call somebody that can do this for me. And let me give them that.
Okay, so for somebody like me,
okay,
I'm dyslexic. Okay. I have great stories in my head, which is probably why I'm in production. Because I can get behind cameras and convert those stories into something on film. But writing is not my thing. And I'll be the first one to say, hey, I'm an award-winning, or a best-selling author on Amazon, right? I am. I'm going to be honest with y'all right now, because Tigo don't hide nothing. I hired a ghostwriter, okay? I didn't write that. I'm just telling you. Tell me the value of writing it yourself, and the value and maybe the risk you take when hiring a ghostwriter.
Just ghostwriting, just so you know, my prices are doubled for ghostwriting. I definitely double my prices for ghostwriting. The value in doing it yourself is you're telling your own story. Nobody else is telling it for you. I have countless clients that say, I have a story and give me like one sentence.
Mm-hmm.
And now I have to create this whole world. And then when I give it back for approval, it's like, well, that's not the direction I wanted to go. Well, this is based off what you gave me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also my interpretation of what you gave me. So if you're afraid of someone else's interpretation, it is better to do it yourself. And even if it's messed up, and then hire somebody to correct that, as opposed to just handing your baby off if you're afraid of that.
Mm-hmm.
However, there are also people who just say, listen, I got an idea. The movie I'm getting ready to shoot next week. One of my frat brothers called me and said, hey, have an idea. This ain't my forte. I'll give you some money. Make up a story and let's live. And that's what I did.
Wow. Wow. Okay. What about somebody that maybe wants to record it? They're not a writer, but they got the idea down and they can sit down and literally tell you, you know, in stages, you know, this is where the character is, blah, blah, blah. But they don't know about screenwriting. We'll get into that in a minute. Hold on. But they don't know anything about screenwriting. They don't know anything about putting a book together.
Right.
But they can grab a microphone and say, it started in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that kind of a thing. Does that help you or does that make it tougher for you to maybe ghostwrite or screenplay write, whatever the proper word is for that? Don't send me hate mail. Something like that from recording.
Honestly, it's easier
Okay.
because I know your vision. And even if I'm listening to, because a story has a beginning, middle, and end, regardless of how it comes out, whether it be audio or you wrote it down, it's still the beginning, middle, and the end. All I'm doing is filling in the format of it, giving it dialogue, giving it life. So either way is easy, but that's depending on who you're working with, because that's the type of writer I am. It may be another writer that's like, you doing too much.
Mm-hmm.
So you either do it yourself. You know all that, do it yourself. You know, so it could go either way.
When somebody comes up with an idea, they want to write, and they go, okay, I got the book down. I'm an Amazon bestseller. I made it all the way to USA Today. I'm on Wall Street, bestseller. Now I want to make it a movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, can they just hand you this book and say, here you go, you know, make this a movie? You know, what's the next steps for them?
That's when I get hired to do that. So I've done that twice.
Okay.
I've turned a book into a series.
Okay.
And I've turned a book into a movie.
Okay.
I need to read it first.
Mm.
I need to read the book first because being a novelist and a screenwriter are two totally different things. Because writing a novel means I need to make it visual for the reader.
Mm-hmm.
Writing a screenplay means whatever's on the screen needs to translate well on screen.
Okay.
Every novel doesn't translate well, which means I have to add and or subtract to make this a television/film worthy adaptation, because that's what it would be, an adaptation.
If somebody tells you, girl, I want to do this book, it's going to be like Bodyguard. And then they start telling you, you know, the story, and you go, it's not like Bodyguard, it is Bodyguard. What is the line between, you know, kind of like and copyright infringement?
There's a big line. It's real thick.
Okay.
There's a big line between it. I would steer them away from that. I would say, hey, I saw that movie. Whitney was in it. I was there, you know. And then I would say, however, nothing is original. So what about having a bodyguard that you fall in love with as a pop star? Can you make different? I would stage it that way so that they're thinking about it in a different way. Because me and you can have the same idea, right? Mm-hmm. We're sitting in a studio in front of a screen. Mm-hmm. And then somebody can say, okay, write a story about that.
And I'm going to turn to you and go, you know I don't write. Go ahead and write. Let me know. I'll get behind the cameras.
It would be two totally different stories.
You're right. It's like seeing an accident. You never get the same witness testimony. So I totally get that.
You just have to steer somebody. And I do that in my writing classes. Like if I have a class of 10 people, I'll write Summer Rain on the board. Y'all got 10 minutes to write a story about Summer Rain.
See, and I be failed the class. And she I see how it is. Well, you know, Alan's going to cut us off in a minute. He's back there throwing up the 1 minute warning. You have writers' workshops. Yes. You got your own journals that you sell. Yes. Will you tell everybody how they find out about your writers' workshops? How do they find out about your journals? And because they need the right tools. Y'all need the right tools. You can't go to, you know, like 7-Eleven and get the little lined paper.
Facts.
You need the journal. You need this.
Facts.
So how do they get in touch with you? What do they do?
All of that is on my website, which is www.bdaniellewatkins.com. I have my prices for my coaching programs, which are individualized to each client, my new novels, any new movies I'm working on, as well as my journal/notebook line. Everything is there in one spot.
All right, now don't do that. I see you shaking your head because you're driving down the highway. You didn't have a pen, and I finally gave you the answers for writing. You know what to do. Just go to Tigo Direct, type in B Danielle, type in writer. She's coming up. Go ahead and send her a private message from Tigo Direct. You know it doesn't cost you anything, and it doesn't cost her anything. It's our way to keep you connected. I want to thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
I know you're coming back next month. What we're going to talk about then, you are amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, everybody, I hope you enjoyed this episode. You know I want you to come back next time. And as always, I'm Tigo. I'll talk to you next time. I don't give a